remember when gaming was simple? No 100-gig downloads, no microtransactions, just you, a chunky cartridge, and the sheer will to beat your favorite game that didn't even have a save feature. When you think of the golden age of 8-bit consoles, what immediately comes to mind? Most likely, it's the iconic Nintendo Entertainment System, the console that dominated the gaming landscape in the 1980s. But just below the radar was another powerhouse, the Sega Master System. While it may not have reached the same level of fame or sales, the Master System was a marvel of its time, offering groundbreaking technology and an amazing catalog of games. In many ways, the Sega Master System was ahead of its time. It boasted superior graphics and sound compared to the competition, introducing players to a library of titles that would remain ahead of the curve for years to come. From futuristic sci-fi RPGs to fast-paced arcade shooters, the Master System was home to some of the most innovative and memorable games of the 80s. Yet despite these achievements, it never fully caught fire in the US market, and its legacy has often been overshadowed by the rise of Sega's later consoles. But as the retro gaming scene thrives today, it's time to take a second look at the Sega Master System and the games that made it an unsung hero. So if you think retro gaming begins and ends with Nintendo, then buckle up, because we're about to dive into the console that dared to be different. And in this video, we'll explore the technical specifications of the Master System, revisit some of its most beloved games, discuss the system's success outside of North America, specifically in Brazil, and weigh its place in video gaming history. As we start our exploration of the Master System, I want to give a special shout out and thank you to my beautiful viewers in Brazil.
Muito obrigado por todo o interesse e apoio ao canal de games retrô.
This amazing system was originally released in 1985 in Japan as the Sega Mark III, and then released in the following years in other parts of the world, rebranded as the Sega Master System. When we compare the hardware features of the Sega Master System versus the Nintendo Entertainment System, both consoles had their strengths, but the Master System was arguably the more powerful console in terms of the capabilities of its bare metal chipset. The Master System was powered by the Zilog Z80 CPU, clocked at 3.58 MHz, nearly twice the speed of the Ricoh 2A03 processor in the NES, which ran at just 1.79 MHz. The faster clock speed of the Z80 gave the Master System an edge in terms of processing power, which helped it achieve better overall graphics and smoother gameplay. The graphics chip in the Master System was a proprietary video display processor with the same internal design as the Texas Instruments TMS 9918, with enhanced features such as additional colors. The Master System could display 32 colors on screen at once, out of its palette of 64 total colors. A notable improvement over the NES's 25 on-screen colors from a palette of 56 in total. This made the Master System capable of rendering more vibrant environments. The audio capabilities were modest, but were still able to produce some memorable and catchy tunes in games like Space Harrier and Phantasy Star. Interestingly, the Japanese release of the Sega Master System also included an upgraded audio processor with its FM sound unit containing a Yamaha YM2413 frequency modulation synthesis sound chip that complemented the SN76489 PSG chip in the Master System, creating a more nuanced and rich sound that was closer to the audio quality heard in the Sega Genesis and Master Drive. But unfortunately, the FM audio chip was removed from the Master System in other territories, including the North American version that I had. The Master System also featured a unique game card slot in addition to the standard cartridge input, allowing players to use thin, credit card-sized media known as Sega Cards. These cards were a cost-effective and compact alternative to cartridges, and typically held smaller games due to their limited storage capacity. While they offered a sleek and novel design, the cards were ultimately phased out in favor of the more versatile and higher capacity cartridges. Despite their short lifespan, Sega Cards remain a distinctive aspect of the Master System's hardware history and reflect Sega's early experimentation with game media formats. The aesthetics of the Master System itself look like it had just touched down from a galaxy far, far away. A sleek, angular vision of the future compared to the NES's humble gray box. With its bold black casing and crimson accents, the console seemed like something straight off the bridge of the Millennium Falcon. The top-loading cartridge gave it a distinctly high-tech feel, while the NES's clunky front loader looked like a VCR that had given up on life. Where the NES resembled a bland office appliance, the Master System screamed Interstellar Arcade. The whole package looked less like a toy and more like Forbidden Rebel Alliance tech, smuggled out of a Sega R&D lab. While Nintendo played it safe with beige conformity, Sega built a console that felt like it could power up the Death Star, or at least make your living room look like the coolest Rebel base on the block. One final note about the hardware is the most ambitious accessory ever released for the Master System, the 3D glasses, which allowed players to experience games in stereoscopic 3D. Released in 1987, these glasses utilize shutter technology, rapidly alternating between the left and right lenses to create a pretty impressive illusion of depth. This 3D capability was impressive for the time and allowed players to experience a handful of games in a whole new way. Some of the key titles that supported the 3D glasses included Space Harrier 3D, you guessed it, a 3D version of the iconic Space Harrier, featuring even more immersive visuals. Zaxxon 3D brought the classic isometric arcade shooter into the third dimension, and Outrun 3D was an adaptation of Sega's famous racing game, adding a new layer of depth and excitement. They represented Sega's push for innovation in the home console market. While the Master System didn't enjoy the same level of commercial success in many regions, it found significant popularity in Brazil, a market that became a unique success story for the system. In the late 80s, the Master System was launched in Brazil by Tectoy, a Brazilian electronics company. Tectoy managed to turn the Master System into a long-lasting cultural phenomenon, where it continued to be sold long after it was officially discontinued by Sega in other parts of the world. The company adapted the Master System to local tastes, offering localized game releases and modified hardware options with a focus on accessibility and affordability. At its peak, the Master System became one of the most popular consoles in Brazil, often being viewed as the direct competitor to the NES, which was not as widely available due to import restriction issues and higher costs. The success of the Master System in Brazil can be attributed to its unique position in the market, and Tectoy's persistence in marketing and supporting the system with localized games, including versions of the classic Sega first-party titles. These factors combined made the Master System a gateway for many Brazilians to enter the world of video gaming. So before we dive into the great games on the Master System, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is always here for a quick retro gaming break whenever you need it. I appreciate your support, since it's the only way that YouTube will highlight my videos and help my channel to grow. While the Master System may have been overlooked in other regions, it still boasted an incredible set of innovative and memorable games. Some of the titles released on the system went on to become defining moments in the evolution of gaming, and many continue to hold a special place in the hearts of retro gamers today. And in my mind, some actually look and play closer to the games from the 16-bit generation compared to many of the popular 8-bit titles on the NES at the time. So I want to share my list of 10 games that I feel capture the uniqueness of this legendary console. I'm not saying that these are the best games on the console necessarily, but that they really show off what the system is capable of and highlight the creativity across the diverse library on the Master System. I'm sure you have your own favorites as well, so drop me a comment below so we can compare notes. First up goes to one of the most visually ambitious titles of the 8-bit era, Space Harrier. This game pushed the graphical capabilities of the 8-bit Master System to its limits. Developed by Sega, this third-person forward-scrolling rail shooter featured fast-paced, pseudo-3D gameplay that had players control the gravity-defying Space Harrier as they blasted their way through a variety of bizarre alien landscapes. The scrolling background, colorful enemies, and impressive scale made this game an early example of Sega's technical prowess, and it was a defining moment for the system's launch. Even though it's a far cry from the original arcade experience, its dynamic gameplay and memorable soundtrack made it one of the most unique experiences you could play on a home console at the time. And our number 2 title is Phantasy Star, released in 1987, which remains one of the Master System's crowning achievements and my all-time favorite game on the system. This was a pioneering RPG that broke new ground with its deep storyline, turn-based combat, and stunning sci-fi settings. Its combination of dungeon crawling and overworld exploration offered a level of complexity rare for console RPGs at the time. One of its defining features was its innovative 3D dungeons that were, to the best of my knowledge, the first seen in the 8-bit era. The game's breadth of weapons and armor, along with its combat and magic systems and varied character classes, helped make Phantasy Star a classic in the RPG genre, influencing later Sega titles like the Shining Force and Lunar series. Rampage on the SMS is an impressive port of the classic arcade game, offering a surprisingly faithful experience with vibrant graphics, large character sprites, and smoother gameplay compared to its NES counterpart. Players take control of giant monsters, George the Ape, Lizzie the Lizard, and Ralph the Werewolf, as they smash their way through city after city, demolishing buildings and swatting away military forces. Unlike the NES version, which suffered from drab visuals and more limited gameplay mechanics, the Master System edition captures the chaotic spirit and destructive fun of the original arcade, making it the best home version available at the time. Coming in at number 4 is Konseiden, a side-scrolling samurai action game set in feudal Japan. You control the samurai warrior in his quest for revenge after his family is killed by an evil warlord. And what made Konseiden unique was its action and great graphics. Players navigate through intricate levels filled with both human and supernatural enemies. The game's swordplay is boosted as you can earn upgrades to your skills and attacks throughout the game. Its Castlevania-like gameplay and atmospheric graphics made it a standout action title on the Master System. And to me, just like we saw in Phantasy Star, this is one of those games that almost felt like it had one foot ahead in the 16-bit era. In my eyes, it looked better than most other 8-bit games of the day. For number 5, R-Type is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up arcade game that was adapted for Sega's 8-bit console. Players are in control of the R9 Arrowhead, a futuristic spacecraft tasked with defeating the alien Bido Empire. Known for its challenging gameplay, R-Type features a unique power-up system centered around the Force Pod, a detachable orb that can absorb enemy fire and be equipped with various weapons. The Master System version, while scaled down from the arcade graphics, retains much of the core gameplay and shooting goodness that made the title a classic, with fast-paced action, distinctive art style and graphic design, and intense boss battles across multiple challenging levels. Number 6 is Fantasy Zone, where players piloted an agile spaceship as they traveled through whimsical, brilliantly colored worlds. The game is a blend of playful shooting action and managing ship and weapon upgrades. With super bright colors, cute and cartoony graphics, and catchy soundtrack, made it one of the most distinctive shooters of its time. Fantasy Zone's innovative gameplay and its quirky, imaginative settings set it apart as one to remember. Much like The Legend of Zelda on the NES, we have Golden Axe Warrior in the number 7 slot. This was an action RPG that allowed players to explore a vast world, battle monsters, and collect items. Players navigate a large interconnected map, battled through dungeons, and leveled up to increase their strength. The combination of action and exploration, coupled with the familiarity of Sega's Golden Axe franchise, made it one of the most unique and popular titles on the Master System. So for number 8, who could forget Outrun, another legendary Sega arcade port of the famous racing game that let players speed through scenic routes while avoiding traffic and traveling at insane speeds in a cherry red Ferrari. The game's branching paths, smooth scrolling environments, and impressive visuals for the time helped make it one of the most iconic driving games in history, influencing countless future games. And coming in at number 9 is the hack-and-slash action game Rastan, where players assumed the role of a mighty barbarian as he slashed through enemies and explored mysterious lands. The game's platforming and intense combat made it a standout action title, and its compelling sword and sorcery setting left a lasting impression. The number 10 selection is Rocky, released in 1987, which lets you step into the worn-out shoes of the Italian stallion himself, Rocky Balboa. Here, you button mash and punch your way through a roster of increasingly tough opponents, including Apollo Creed, Clubber Lang, and Ivan Drago. The gameplay features side-scrolling boxing mechanics, where timing your punches and gauging distance are key to staying on your feet. The graphics are pretty good for an 8-bit title, with nice big sprites and animation. And while the gameplay was pretty simple, it's still a fun and occasionally frustrating way to be the underdog fighting for glory. As a runner-up, I've got to mention about Double Dragon. While the Master System version is regarded as a much better arcade port than the NES version, it still suffers from a lot of sprite flickering. If you want to take a closer look at this one, check out my separate video I did specifically on that game and my experience playing it as a kid. I hope you'll enjoy. And in addition to all these classic games, several more were released later on, even after its bigger brother, the Sega Genesis Mega Drive, was released by Sega in 1989. Some of those popular 16-bit titles from that platform were then ported over in 8-bit demakes, such as Sonic the Hedgehog, Altered Beast, Streets of Rage, and more. But as much as I love the Master System, I've got to tell you, those titles are, of course, better experienced than their 16-bit versions. I found it really interesting, however, that after Sega released the Genesis Mega Drive, They actually made a power base for it, allowing backwards compatibility of Master System games, so you could keep playing your favorite SMS games on it. Thank goodness for that. As we wrap up our discussion about the games of the Master System, I've got to share a quick personal story about my experience with them. I remember one year in school, I got really good grades, yes, even if for only one time. And my father agreed to buy me a Master System game as a reward for my good behavior. I remember he used to call them Say-Go games rather than Sega. Okay, boomer. Back in the 80s, a trip to Toys R Us to pick out a new game wasn't just shopping. It was a full-on ceremony celebrating the goodness of the gaming gods. The parking lot felt massive. The brightly colored logo outside the store was like a beacon of joy. And as I entered the front doors, I sprinted past the action figures and bikes, zeroing in on the electronics section where the video games lived, like a heat-seeking missile. The game boxes all seemed like works of art. Rastan with its sword and sorcery drama, and Psycho Fox with its weird grinning hero. I traced the artwork with my finger, trying to absorb the excitement through the locked-up glass cabinet doors. Dad would lean against the shopping cart, amused, saying, "You gonna pick one or just stare at them all day?" But how could I choose? Each game represented the unknown possibility of literally months of fun and challenges to conquer, with their own unique stories to unfold. Eventually, I grabbed Considon, and magically, the drive home somehow felt longer than usual as I held the game box tight, with all of its mystery and promise awaiting my first playthrough. Even now, decades later, I still remember the weight of that moment, not because of the game itself, but because of what it meant. Unforgettable moments of pure and unfiltered anticipation. No downloads, no patches, just you, your console, and the infinite hope of chancing upon the next great game that would define part of your childhood. So before we wrap things up about the Master System's place in gaming history, if you enjoy this video, I've put a link in the description below of a playlist of all of my other videos that you might enjoy, so check it out and stick around for a while. Our exploration of the Master System wouldn't be complete without a study of its impact on the gaming world. This console can't be overlooked, since it helped introduce groundbreaking gaming experiences through its innovative hardware, iconic games, and technological advances. The system's popularity in Japan, Brazil, and the United Kingdom, as well as its cult following in Europe, ensured its legacy during the console's original run. And given the modern-day resurgence in all things related to retro gaming, the Master System is now enjoying a well-deserved renaissance and second life, and rightfully being enjoyed by more players globally now than ever. And its breakthrough games like Phantasy Star and the others we've seen today continue to be celebrated for their contributions to the gaming industry. Its peripherals were a daring experiment in home console gaming, showcasing Sega's forward-thinking approach. The Master System's unique library solidified its place in the history of gaming, and though it was eventually overtaken by newer consoles, its influence on future generations remains undeniable. So in conclusion, the Sega Master System may not have reached the same level of global success as its competition, but it played a critical role in shaping the early days of modern home video gaming, and will forever hold a special place in the hearts of retro game enthusiasts around the world. Well, at least in mine. But that's just what I think. How would you compare it to the NES? Which console did you like better? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your views. Don't forget to hit that like button for me if you enjoyed the video. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. And I invite you to subscribe for more feel-good retro gaming content. Alright my friends, this is the Retro Gaming Boss signing out, reminding you to keep your games old school and keep on giving the Master System the love it deserves. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.